Welcome, everybody. We are here with a new teaser for the live session. This time we will talk about experimentation. And our guest and keynote speaker for today is Okelo Fekadu from UNDP.
Thanks, Thomas. Hello, everyone. My name is Okelo. I'm a designer and development practitioner. My previous experience involved using human-centered design for products and services targeted the poor segment of the society. I'm currently working for UNDP's Accelerator Lab as a Head of Experimentation.
Wonderful. So just to be clear, you are based in Ethiopia, but you fully focus on Ethiopia or the whole of Africa? What is your geographical scope?
Thanks, Thomas. Actually, UNDP's Accelerator Lab is UNDP's global initiative across 91 countries. They've initially started in 60 countries, and last year they scaled it up to 91 countries. So I'm based here in Addis Ababa and supporting Ethiopia country office.
Wonderful. And what I understood, there are 3 phases of the accelerator. Can you explain shortly what those 3 phases are and where is your responsibility?
Yeah, so we have a learning cycle, actually, which covers the role of 3 of lab members. And we're always starting our activity with sense-making exercise, with exploration, with identifying the challenge and opportunities, what partners exist on what specific issues. And then the next step is solution mapping. So we're trying to map different solutions. Mostly we're focusing on grassroots solutions, local solutions coming from the indigenous people, the community itself. And our third step is the experimentation. So it's like once we explore what exists, map the solutions, the partners, experimentation is all about doing some proof of the solution, kind of quickly conduct small, not time intensive, not investment intensive activities to prove the solution can work or not, and then generate learning from that specific experimentation exercise. So I'm leading that segment of work, the experimentation.
Really interesting. And is the experimentation part of the kind of adaptation of a solution to a different country? So could it be that a solution from country X could become interesting for country Y, and then you use experimentation to adapt it? Or is it always a local solution that is then experimented within that local context itself?
Yeah, actually, we're open also to solutions from any corner of the globe. We have at the Accelerator Lab Network, we have a solutions mapping database where we access solutions from these all 91 countries. It's like we have the flexibility to customize the solutions to our context. We mostly focus on local solutions, but from our exercise, it's like, the level of or the status of solutions is not at equal or equivalent level. Some of the solutions we're mapping are already tested and they have some proof of previous experience. Some are at concept level or idea level. Some are at prototype level. So for those which are already tested, there is no need of experimentation because it's already known that it can work. So we mostly focus on prototypes, on the idea level solutions to or jointly experiment with those solution owners, the private sector, the academia, sometimes research institutions.
What are the key challenges in experimentation, and how do you make it easier for people to deal with experimentation?
Actually, here in Ethiopia, from my experience, bringing on board, it's like experimentation is a joint effort. It's not something you only can run. So it's like you have to bring on board solution owner or solution provider. Sometimes you have some operation staff getting involved. So at the lab, we have very short learning cycle of about 100 days, to do all the exploration, the solution mapping, and experimentation. And sometimes, trying to fit in that time plan is really a challenge. And the big challenge is the partnership. So it's like while you're trying to bring on board partners, some questions being raised, like the intellectual property issue. It's like, it's like there are so many issues while you're trying to work with the private sector, which really need to be sorted out before being engaged in the actual experimentation exercise.
I can imagine. So let's assume that the partnership is set. Then how do you guide the partners involved in doing this experimentation? Is it just a free format, or do you have like any methodology or any kind of structure for doing experiments?
Yeah, so it's like we have our own customized to Ethiopia experimentation canvas, actually, which is not very different from canvases being used in other corners of the globe. So we have that canvas in place to make the experimentation exercise at least not very complex, and make it very understandable to anyone being involved. So we mostly do the experimentation as per that experimentation canvas.
Interesting. So I think the audience would be excited to know how this works in practice. So there is one particular case that we can talk about, and you like to introduce. I will share my screen and ask you a bit about explaining this case on water and sanitation.
Thanks, Thomas. Just talk a bit about this case. So it was like before 3 years. I used to work for an organization promoting sanitation products to rural community. So we've started our business with toilet, actually, but not the entire toilet. We started with the slab, the substructure, but after a while, we understand that some households were resistant to purchase and install our toilet slab because their pit collapsed after a while, especially during the rainy season. So it's like they construct their toilet, use it for a while, collapse, and some households construct again, redig the pit, and do everything. But some households do open defecation during that time, and then it will be followed by additional triggering effort. It's like government and NGOs are doing behavior change, communication stuff again, and it's like households are building their toilet again. So with an objective to overcome this objection or problem of pit collapse, we deep dive to really understand the actual problem on ground with the community, and then do all the HCD stuff and try to come up with a solution. It's like we co-created this solution actually.
Interesting. And also for people who don't know what a slab is, you have some pictures. So this is a picture of you building a latrine pit, right?
Yes, Thomas.
So this is one who has no lining, no cement. So this is part of the problem, that these kind of collapse.
Yes.
And then if they collapse, and you mentioned also something about a slab. So these are the slabs that go on top of the pit, right? So just to understand the issue, people are not willing to purchase these slabs when every rainy season their pit collapses. So and then they fall back to their traditional open defecation. And this is the upper structure that you want them to build, but this is what they normally would build themselves. But this never happens because the basics is not really working. Is that correctly understood? Like
Exactly, Thomas. Yes.
And this is one example of the experimentation canvas. Can you shortly explain how it works, and then maybe explain at the final of this interview what solution came out of this? And especially also, you told me a bit about qualitative versus evidence-based and more data-driven testing. Maybe you can touch upon that as well.
Yeah, thanks, Thomas. Yeah, so I think everyone here is very familiar with the HCD process, and testing is one of the steps involved towards the end of actually the exercise to refine your product, service, or whatever product. So very lately, actually, after I joined UNDP as head of experimentation, I was actually trying to connect experimentation itself to HCD. So for me, it's like sometimes testing only may not be enough, because mostly testing is very user-oriented and qualitative exercise to ensure your product is exactly what or closely what your clients or people you are working for are looking for. So, but this experimentation thing can bring in more evidence and data to that exercise, and really can complement the testing exercise. So I really advocate for experimentation as part of our human-centered design exercise for designers, and I believe it can really bring in some impact our work. It's like we have a story to tell beyond users' perspective, mostly from data and analytics perspective, and it will also add some kind of scientific research, component to our human-centered design exercise.
And talking about this particular case study, what was the data analytics that you are referring to?
Yeah, so on this particular work, during our testing, especially during our field testing exercise, in addition to understanding the user's perspective and in addition to getting the user's insight on our suggested or co-created solution, we did some laboratory work to ensure that the structure we've designed can really serve the intended purpose, which really bring in some research or data evidence to our work.
So with some lab testing, you know what kind of construction is best instead of just only doing user experiments. So it's the experiments are more not only on usability, it's also more on feasibility, technical performance. Are there also other perspectives on experimentation besides technical experimentation and user experimentation?
Yeah, so while we do experimentation, I advocate for doing it in a portfolio way. Actually, it's like any way you go to the community and you're investing time, efforts, blah blah things. So it's really important to do to do it in a portfolio. It's really important to understand the market stuff, the institutional thing, the technicality, the feasibility from different perspectives, the behavior itself. So I highly suggest to do experiments, in a portfolio way, so that you can address at least most of the stuff and make your exercise very compelling.
Wonderful. I think that's the most a very interesting last comment for now. So if you are watching this video and you'd like to engage directly with Okelo on this particular topic, then join us in the upcoming live session. If you're not yet a member of Proportion Global Community, then please go to proportion.global/community and apply. Thank you so much, Okelo, and look forward to continue this conversation in our upcoming session.
Thanks, Thomas. Looking forward to see everyone on our upcoming event on Thursday. Thanks.